After over 10 years of mental health dysfunction, I went from this to this in 9 months. And today, I'm gonna tell you how. What's up everyone, my name is JP and welcome to The Stable Cyclist, where just like everywhere else right now, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so much of our bike-related content has swerved hard into the mental health sphere. How do you get back up after you've fallen down? And if you fall to rock bottom, what is your first step forward? If you're suffering from depression or any other mental health illness, how do you get your life moving in the right direction? I have bipolar disorder, and that's where this story starts. In 2020, mid-pandemic, I had not one, not two, but three full-blown mental health collapses. A few weeks of incredible productivity and creativity and energy, including no sleep, would be followed by weeks of depression that I couldn't climb out of, until we would rinse and repeat. These didn't come out of the blue. In retrospect, it's clear to see that I had suffered with these types of episodes for more than a decade, just not as intense, and I was usually able to recover from them, mostly. But in late September of 2020, I went 3 weeks with no sleep, and 1 week without eating anything, and I finally, obviously, broke. Thankfully, there were people in my life who caught me before I completely self-destructed. And honestly, these people saved my life. They got me the help I needed, and I am convinced truly that I'm alive today because of them. By December 1st of 2020, I had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and from there, it was happily ever after. Nope, just kidding. It was a long slog back, and I remember sitting in that doctor's office in late September of 2020. My life seemingly had fallen apart, and I felt physically terrible. And I told my doctor that day that I was never going to ride my bike again, or never be able to ride my bike again. Now, it is at this point that we are going to pause my story for a second and talk about one thing. Chances are in your life you have someone who is struggling with mental health during your day, or you will have someone in your life who will struggle with mental health. And when you get to the point where you are trying to help them climb back up and get back up, I need you to do me a favor. Be realistic. The bottom is the bottom for a reason. And getting back up to normal is pretty much impossible if people keep feeding those who need help goals and benchmarks that they can't reach or even imagine. Unpause the story. My doctor did not look at me on that day in September and say, "You're gonna for sure ride your bike and race again." She looked at me and said, "You'll ride your bike again, but I need you to forget that you were ever a college athlete. I need you to forget that you raced your bike or that you do ultra endurance racing." That sounds really harsh, but for most people in that situation, comparison to a healthy time in life is the most discouraging thing we can look at. So she took my eyes off the unrealistic hope and put them on daily tasks. She knew I did need exercise as a part of my treatment, but that my capacity to do anything was low. So she started me on 5-minute walks the first week, and then 10, and then 15, and once I got to 15-minute walks, she put me on a 12-week couch to 5K run-walk program. To be honest, I hated these walks. Part of me felt humiliated to be reduced to this. But I also knew I needed to move, and I knew it was literally all I could do, so grudgingly, I went out and did my walks. By February, I was feeling normal enough to ride the trainer some. And by March, I was riding 5 days a week, but all zone 1 and 2, and never for very long. We're talking 45 to 60 minutes max. These were easy rides where I could have a conversation with a friend if I wanted to. And for the first time since the Madahe 100 in 2019, I started to think, maybe I would like to race my bike again. But I was really scared. I was scared that my manic personality would get turned loose again and I would suddenly be training 20 to 25 hours a week and put myself in a hole I couldn't get out of, and the cycle, no pun intended, would start again. And if you think this sounds crazy, I had done it. I had done it in 2019, I had done it at times in 2015, I had done it at times in 2013, where I would ride myself into a hole because I was manic and I felt invincible. So I had good reason to be scared. I needed a true governor on my training. I had a TrainerRoad subscription that I hadn't really used in almost 2 years, but as summer approached, I started to think about training more regularly. At that time, TrainerRoad had just introduced its adaptive training program, a machine learning program that would adapt your training as you moved through your plan based on what you needed and your fitness progression. I picked the low volume plan because that meant 3 60-minute workouts per week. And I filled in 2 other days with easy 60 to 90-minute rides or with strength training. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Bro, that's a regular training plan. How is that saving your life? And honestly, that's a fair question, but I promise the title is not clickbait. Since my final mental health crash had happened in the fall of 2020, to getting diagnosed in December, to starting therapy and counseling in April, I had never really got my feet back under me. Once I was in therapy, I started to realize the mental health mountain that I had to climb. And the daily struggles were so difficult. And exercise became this escape where I got to feel better because of the exercise, but it was also something that I didn't have to give any thought or energy to the rest of the day because of TrainerRoad. I knew I could show up and the workout would be right-sized for me, and I could get the exercise part of my treatment plan done and move on to the other parts of my day. The first week of June, I did my first race with tremendous fear, to say the least. I say that because forever I have been an ultra endurance guy, and I had signed up for a local cross-country race, one in the Minnesota mountain bike series within the state I live. The race went well, and I made a plan to go find other races. And with each workout and each box checked off, I grew in confidence. And with my confidence and success on the bike I was starting to find, I came to the realization that my diagnosis didn't have to be a limiting factor in my life. That ultimately, even though I now had bipolar as a diagnosis, I could chase my goals, both in my professional field of teaching and on the bike. Of course I had to take my meds, and of course I had to go to therapy, and then put the things I was learning into therapy into action, and I had to go to sleep consistently and all those things, but the meds and the therapy and the sleep and TrainerRoad's algorithm helped me find balance that, to be honest, I couldn't remember the last time I had felt this way. Maybe I had felt this balanced as a kid? I don't know. Midsummer, Jonathan Lee, the host of TrainerRoad's podcast, had me on as a guest of the TrainerRoad Successful Athletes podcast, which you can find here, and it will be linked in the description as well. Now, for many of you on this channel, if you're a regular here, there may be a belief that I don't like TrainerRoad. And you've probably come to that conclusion reasonably for a few reasons. First of all, I work with a coach and I promote their company, Ignition Coach Co., and they even support this channel. The second reason is that I had Dylan Johnson on the Stable Cyclist podcast, and we talked specifically for about 10 minutes about him going after TrainerRoad in one of his videos. And between the comments and the DMs that I got after that interview, a lot of people believed that I was going after TrainerRoad. But if you listen to the interview, I was more interested in the backstory of it and his creative process and Dylan's mentality about doing something that he was sure to catch some heat for. Look, I am grateful for the opportunity that Jonathan gave me on the podcast to lift up mental health awareness. And honestly, the original idea for the Stable Cyclist podcast and this channel were birthed in that conversation with him. And so beyond just a training platform, it put an idea in my head that has continued to keep my mental health on track and keep me busy with projects that keep me in the good and bring conversations and episodes to you. That summer ended with me in contention for a spot in the overall podium in my division in the Minnesota Mountain Bike Series. And I closed out the year with top 5 performances in Mankato, Duluth, and Maple Lag, which landed me 3rd overall and 2nd in my age group. My final race of the season was a short track race in which I won in a sprint. I'm not typically a real celebratory person, but I definitely posted up and didn't think twice about the fact that I was beating a 15-year-old in the sprint and posting him up. And I'm pretty sure his mom is still pissed at me. But here's the deal. For me, the celebration wasn't about the race win. It was about the fight I had been in forever, that I finally felt like I was winning, and that my body didn't feel controlled anymore by this thing that had gone unnamed forever. I know that there are a lot of people out there who may feel off, or maybe you feel like you are struggling with your mental health. Maybe you are struggling with depression or anxiety or something else, or a health condition, or maybe you are stuck after the loss of a loved one. My encouragement to you is so simple. Start moving. Get up and take action. It doesn't have to be with a race. I started with 5-minute walks for a week. But you have to take action because honestly, your ability to move is the only thing you have control of. I know it's difficult because I've been there. But you are worth the effort to get moving forward. And whenever I say you are loved at the end of episodes, this is what I'm talking about. You weren't meant to be stuck. So go and get things started because you won't regret it. And there are people who care about you. If you want to hear a longer conversation about how movement benefits our mental health and how my sister, Dr. Beth, prescribes it to her patients for mental health, you can listen to that right here. And if you want to hear my original conversation with TrainerRoad's Jonathan Lee, you can listen to that here. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Now get out there and move. And most importantly, remember, you are loved.